Hello and welcome to the program. After Russia's war in Donbas started in 2014, many Ukrainian students fled to government-controlled territory to continue their education. But what happened to those left behind? Joining us is Volodymyr Kovtunets, the first Deputy Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine. Thank you for joining us.
Hello.
So my first question is, what's the situation now, exactly, with those universities? Which students fled from which territory, which has been annexed and taken by Russia now?
All universities from Donbas and Lugansk region were evacuated on the free territory, on controlled territories, and mostly they are very successful. Really, they originated new education system in at new places. One university was evacuated from Crimea. This is Vernadsky Tavria National University, based in Kyiv. And mainly all students joined their universities. For example, if Taras Shevchenko National University of Lugansk had 16,000 students in Lugansk. Now in Starobilsk, this is a very small town, they have over 11,000 students. But nevertheless, some professors left at occupied territories, especially in Donbas, in Lugansk, Makivka, Donetsk, and some students living at these territories, uncontrolled territories, continue studying in these so-called universities.
You said it yourself, it's so-called university. What happens to those diplomas? These
diplomas may be recognized only by authorities of these so-called republics. Even Russia Federation does not recognize these diplomas. They do some specific things, like additional diploma issued by Russian some universities. In some cases, for example, University of Rostov, University of Voronezh issued additional Russian diploma and recognize it, recognizing in such a way, recognizing studying at this really unofficial universities. So Ukraine cannot recognize these diplomas. We cannot recognize diplomas issued at Crimea territory. We recognize diploma issued by Russian university, of course. But we cannot recognize any diploma issued, for example, by Federal University in Simferopol.
We talked earlier about the fact that you had a lot of students coming from those now uncontrolled territory, coming to university in the government-controlled territory. What does it mean for a student coming from Donbas, from those regions, to come, for example, maybe in Kyiv or in other territories? How do they adapt to the life on the other side in some sort of ways?
Of course, these students faced difficulties when they crossed the front of anti-terroristic operation or border with Crimea. Administrative border with Crimea, because authorities in these territories tries to forbid movement of students at Ukrainian controlled territories. So we suggest for them different approaches. For example, the first problem is Ukrainian document about secondary education. They could not get such a document in Crimea or in Donetsk, in Lugansk, for example. So these students, students of secondary school, high secondary school, they participate in studying Ukrainian programs in some schools in Luhansk or Donetsk Oblast, and in such a way that they can pass final examination and receive Ukrainian.
Because the test is in Ukrainian.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
For the viewers to understand.
The next possibility there are provided by centers Crimea, Ukraine, Donbas, Ukraine. based in some leading universities. So students from occupied territories may come in June, July, to free territory, pass exam, get document on secondary education, and submit the application to Ukrainian universities.
So in those territory where they live, they study by distance. How does it work? Do they receive? How do they study by distance?
Yes. They may use e-learning tools for learning. They may visit Ukrainian schools, for example, in Pokrovsk, about 40 kilometers from the front. And they periodically attend the school. They continue so-called, this is really distance, but not e-learning education. And finally, they visit the school to pass exam, to pass external examination, and to get diploma. So there are different approaches to secure their right on education. And the last decision of Parliament was to secure 1,000 seats in our 1,000 regions for students from Crimea. And really, last year we increased number of students from Donbas and Crimea up to 63%.
These words are interesting. Rights of education, because as I do understand, how many students roughly are there on the other side of the front line? Would you say, more or less?
We cannot estimate because Ukrainian government cancelled all license for those educational institutions which left the occupied or uncontrolled territory. We don't know it. But we know that this educational process is continuing in some universities, and this process is oriented on the Russian standards. This process is very ideologically contradictory to Ukrainian education. So we could not recognize this education without any additional assessment.
So would you say it's a fundamental challenge for Ukraine to bring back those students?
Yes. We understand, we recognize the problem that when we return this territory, when the Ukrainian government come back to these territories, many our Ukrainians who didn't participate in any military units, illegally military units, they studied something. And we have to assess what they studied, what learning outcomes may be recognized, what additional learning should be secured for them at the territory to secure their right for education as Ukrainian citizens.
Thank you for being with us in the studio. It was a pleasure to have you in this interview. Joining us was Volodymyr Kovtunets, the first Deputy Minister of Education and Science of Ukraine. Thank you for watching UATV. Stay tuned for the rest of the program.